Good morning. You you are a leader. And if you think you're not a leader, I'm telling you right now, you're a leader. Welcome. I'm Tim from Plugged Into Leadership. Welcome to Tea with Tim. Good morning. Welcome back. This is your daily leadership shot in the arm. Your 9 o'clock wake up call to get you ready for the rest of the day. Glad you decided to join me. Super, super excited about today. Just had a really great conversation with a friend of mine this morning, and I am just excited about what's going on in life. I'm excited about where we're at. Hello to everyone that is watching right now. This morning, I wanted to talk about your story and what that means, the story that we tell ourselves. So let me paint this picture. Something happens to you. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Somebody does something that you just really don't like. You see and you hear something, and then these emotions start to flood in. There's this sense of that might happen, right? So what happens? What happens in that instance? Well, in the middle of what we see and what we hear, and then our actions, the upset part, there's this story that we tell ourselves. And the closer to the story, the truth that we tell ourselves, the better our reactions are going to be. See, we don't necessarily have or we have these emotions that are just crazy. They just kind of take over everything. So I'm going to read a little bit from the book Crucial Conversations, where I'm taking this material from. Amazing book. If you ever get a chance to read it, please do. But I want to read these two little excerpts for you. Here they go. The claim one is, emotions don't settle upon us like a fog. They are not foisted upon us by others, no matter how comfortable it might make you feel saying it. Others don't make you mad. You make you mad. You make you scared, annoyed, or insulted. You and only you create your emotions. The second thing it says, once you've created your upset emotions, you have two options. You can act on them or be acted on by them. So how do we control our story? How do we control that middle piece? The first thing is that we have to realize these two claims, that our emotions are something that we can control. Our emotions are something that we have to stop and think about before we move into the anger, upset feeling, before we react in a negative way. And I'm speaking from experience. I let my emotions control me so much. And it was partly by reading this book and partly by understanding that this is happening to me that I was able to begin to overcome this. Not perfect, don't have all the answers, but I was able to begin to overcome this. So just to reiterate, something happens to you. There's some action, somebody cuts you off in traffic, your spouse says something, your boss says something to you, and then you act. And in the middle, there's this story, this narrative that we tell ourselves. The thing that we have to realize is that before we tell ourselves a false story, we need to first get all the information. So the first step to controlling this is to get all the information, is to have a conversation with the person. If you can, if somebody cuts you off in traffic, you can't really do that. So if you can get the story, get the full story, do that. The second thing that we need to do is we need to think the best of the person. We need to think the best of our boss, because we are the star of our own show. We are the star of our world. And sometimes we assume that other people think that we're the star. How many times in your life have you mulled something over in your brain, you let it fester, you let it keep happening, and you keep replaying the situation over and over and over again, and you assume that that person is doing the same thing, and after a while you come to them and you're so mad, you're so upset, and you talk to them and they're like, oh, that was just a blip on the radar. I don't know, I'm over that. I haven't thought about that in a long time. But for you, it was like the main thing that you were thinking about for a long time. That's what this can do. We need to realize that people are usually out for themselves. It's just honest. People are just out for themselves. So we need to make sure that we give them the benefit of the doubt, that there may be something going on in their world that we don't have any idea of. I'm reminded of a story where there was two people in a business and they were supposed to do a presentation together. So they were partners, they worked on the presentation, and the one person got up and just did the whole presentation. Forgot to invite the other person up to do their part of the presentation. Now, immediately, the other person was so upset, thinking, this person thinks that I'm not very good at speaking, that I didn't know my part, that I didn't do the work that I was supposed to do, and they just took over because they're so narcissistic, they're so upset at me, they don't like me, they don't want me to be doing this. They told themselves the story. Did you hear the story that I just described? That's that they saw the person present, they told themselves the story. It happened instantaneously. All that happened super fast. And then they reacted. They got so mad at that person. So when they went to that person and had the conversation, I can't believe that you would do that. You don't like me, and I knew that you thought that I wasn't a very good speaker. And the other person's like, no, actually what happened was when I get in front of a room and I'm speaking, I get really stressed out and I just completely forgot to invite you up. I just wasn't thinking, and I'm so sorry, but when I am in that position, I can't always do that. You should have just walked up on stage or should have just waved your hand and I would have remembered. I'm so sorry. So everything that person told themselves about what was going on, why they didn't invite them up, was false. So does that happen to you? Are you ever in a situation where you're just really upset about what's going on? And you stop and have to think, okay, to control my emotions, what story am I telling myself in this moment? So we really, if we want better interactions with people, if we want to control our emotions, which are going to be so helpful in our day-to-day with our kids, with our coworkers, with our spouses, with our boss, we need to be thinking about what's going on, what story are we telling ourselves, and we need to think the best of the person that we have an interaction with. And then we need to go to them and try to get the rest of that story and understand what's going on and sit down and talk to them. So I hope today you tell yourself a true story. You tell yourself a story that is actually what actually goes on. Because when we tell ourselves a false story, we can really, really, really get ourselves in a lot of hot water. And the hardest piece is going to that person and remaining curious, remaining open-minded, and saying, this happened. I want to understand what's going on. And when you sit down with that person and come with a attitude of learning and an attitude of understanding, there's going to be so much more fruit that comes out of that conversation. I love you too, Brian Daly. I see that comment there. Good morning, Kristen. Hi, Ron. Nice to see you. So those are the two things that I think that you should do in order to help this story, managing your story, managing your emotions, because what we don't want is for emotions to manage us. So that's your daily leadership shot in the arm. Quick reminder that if you share this video, you will be entered into a drawing for a free leadership resource. I will make that drawing on Friday, so please consider sharing this video out if you thought it was helpful. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. My mug today is, again, my John Deere mug. I have my John Deere mug with me this morning. Fantastic. Love John Deere tractors. They're awesome. And again, thank you to all the folks that have tuned in, all the folks that have shared this video. Kristen, Brian, I loved what you said yesterday, Brian Daly, about being in that position where you're constantly having to choose good, fast, and cheap and turn down jobs sometimes. It's a tough thing to do. We have to be able to say, that just doesn't work. I can't complete that on that timeline. And so I need longer time, or it's going to cost more money or whatever. And that's a hard decision to make as a business owner. Completely get that. Dave, thanks for sharing the video. Annabelle, Ashley, really appreciate people sharing these videos. I hope they're helpful to you. In the comment section, if you've told yourself a story, let's just share that. Say, yep, I've told myself a false story, and when I've had that conversation, man, I really found out that the story I told myself and the emotions that came out of my false story were just pretty bad. So let's just admit it. It happens to me all the time. I hope I'm getting better at it. But if you've ever been in the situation where you've told yourself a false story, we can learn together to be able to tell ourselves better stories. Appreciate you, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thanks. Consider sharing the video.